A powerful thunder rolls across the sky as the group of heroes stays close to one another, ready to face the challenge ahead. Then suddenly, a dragon bursts out from above and breathes fire, forcing the group to scramble to save themselves. Ariadne quickly pulls out her wand and unleashes strong magic to push the dragon back, her companions moving right behind her to support her as she releases her full power. She then instructs Vixie to debuff the dragon while Edgar steps forward to act as her shield. With that, they decide to attack together. Their skills work side by side as they rush forward to approach the dragon. But in the end, it's Ariadne's powerful spell that sends the dragon surging with electricity until it finally falls to the ground, completely defeated. As the group finally breathes a sigh of relief, Ariadne's companions come over to thank her. With this quest cleared, their party, named the Rare Spawns, rises to rank 3 on the game's server. As the game ends, Sam logs off the server, removes her headphones, and sinks into her thoughts. She reflects on how life is full of challenging quests, yet nothing ever goes as smoothly as in games, especially for someone like her. Lost in thought, she almost doesn't notice her dog, Bowser, waiting patiently for her to play. The next moment, Sam finds herself connected to wires with a heart monitor tracking her pulse as she struggles to breathe in her bed. Then she jolts awake in the middle of the night. She clutches her neck, realizing it was only a dream. Relieved, she pulls Bowser close and thanks him for waking her from the nightmare as she gets ready to start her day. The first thing Sam does in the morning is check her iPad. She scrolls through her game showcase and lights up when she sees her game now has an 8.2 rating on the site. Then she searches for a streamer's new video, which is named the Martial Law Channel. As she gets dressed, her eyes stay glued to the screen and she even recites the channel's intro along with Martial. On her way out, Sam stops by a cafe for her morning coffee. Link and Dee, the bartenders, greet her as they clearly know her routine. Not long after, her friends Angela and Vicky enter and the 2 bartenders welcome them as well. Angela and Vicky head straight to Sam's table, immediately noticing her cheerful mood. They press her for details and Sam tells them the news by turning her iPad around to show them her game showcase on Indigimir. Dee immediately recognizes the site as it is where Sam uploaded the games she developed back in college. As her friends gather around, Sam shows them the rating of her game. Dallas shrieks in surprise, seeing the rate of 8.2, the highest score on the site so far. Vicky and Angela also hug her in excitement as the rest of them congratulate her. Angela even jokes that Sam might get an offer from a game company, but Sam just laughs it off. Seeing a chance, Link steps closer and asks Sam out on Friday night. Mason Dawn's new movie is premiering, and he wants to take her to celebrate the game's success. But Sam immediately declines, explaining she has a raid that day. Link can only accept the answer, so Vicky comments that being so pure-hearted isn't always a good thing. Sam then hands Bowser to Dee before heading off to work. As soon as she's out the door, Dallas teases Link about being turned down by Sam yet again, but Link simply scolds him for being late. As Sam steps into the office with a coffee in hand, Charles, their manager, immediately greets her. He notices she's earlier than usual and in a good mood, so he asks what caused it. Sam brushes it off, insisting it's not a big deal. She then continues walking, but Charles calls her back, letting her know Lucy is running late. He then asks Sam to make coffee for everyone attending the morning meeting, so Sam is left with no choice but to follow. As the meeting begins, Sam can only peek through the glass window while working at her desk. She stays focused on her own tasks when Lucy arrives, thanking her for making the coffee in her place. Lucy casually wonders why Charles never lets Sam join their meetings, but Sam just says she has other things to finish, like the data entry work she's handling, even though those tasks are usually given to interns. As Lucy keeps searching for reasons, she offhandedly mentions the CEO, which suddenly reminds her that he's actually been looking for Sam. With that, Sam rushes to see the CEO, Samuel, who's already waiting for her. His voice is cold and his posture is stiff as he asks about her well-being without even turning to face her. When Sam mentions that she hasn't used her inhaler in more than a month, he finally turns around with tears in his eyes. It turns out Samuel is actually Sam's father, and he's hurt that she hasn't bothered to message or call him for quite some time. This scene only disturbs Sam, so she urges her father to stop crying. He even talks to her mother's portrait on the wall as if she's already dead, when in reality she's just in Florida shooting a commercial for 2 weeks. Still, 2 weeks feels unbearably long for Samuel, so Sam pulls out her phone to call her mom. When Sam gets her on the line, Samuel desperately wants to talk to her, but Sam ignores him and simply relays the message, saying her mom's filming is delayed because of a hurricane, and she's not sure when she can come home. Hearing this only frustrates Samuel further. During lunch, Sam eats alone and scrolls through her iPad, noticing her game's rating has increased to 8.4. Feeling pleased, she heads back into the office only to catch Lucy flirting with the delivery guy. The guy tries to avoid her attention and quickly turns away, but in his panic, he accidentally bumps into Sam and sways her coffee. The cup slips, sending the drink spilling across Sam's shirt. Sam is left with no choice but to walk around the office wearing only her spaghetti strap while everyone stares. This immediately catches Charles' attention, and he calls her into his office. Once inside, Charles lectures her about her attire, so Sam explains that Lucy is currently washing her stained shirt. Despite her explanation, Charles insists that it's inappropriate and could embarrass his father's name as CEO. He closes the blinds, strips off his own shirt, and covers Sam with it, leaving himself half-naked behind a flustered Sam. Charles continues his lecture, emphasizing how improper it is for the CEO's daughter to appear like that in front of everyone, noting that it made her colleagues uncomfortable. Sam, however, is more concerned about what Charles is wearing now. To her surprise, he casually reveals that he always keeps spare clothes in his office. Sam thinks he could have simply lent her one of them, but Charles brushes it off, clearly embarrassed. Instead, Charles tells Sam to just keep the shirt and calls Lucy over to get the delivery guy's name and phone number from his department. Sam wonders why he needs the number, and Charles explains that he plans to speak with his manager to file a complaint. Even though Sam insists it was just an accident, Charles seems determined to proceed, which makes Sam accidentally reveal that he only got flustered because of Lucy. This immediately makes Charles suspicious that the two are doing something inappropriate, so he asks Sam for more details, pressing her for the truth, but Sam stays silent. Using his authority as her manager, Charles even threatens that he would fire Lucy if necessary, hoping this will make Sam confess, yet she says nothing. Frustrated, Charles picks up the phone to call Lucy himself, but Sam stops him once again, insisting that it was genuinely just an accident and nothing more. This makes Charles suspect that Sam is protecting Lucy because she's her friend. He warns her not to let personal feelings interfere, as she is the next CEO of the company, then continues to dial Lucy's number. As the phone rings, Sam starts to panic, her breath's growing heavy, and the weight of the impending confrontation presses down on her shoulders. Lucy is taking time to answer while Sam is desperate to think of a way to save her friend as the ring echoes in her mind. Just as Lucy finally answers the phone, Sam gathers the courage to confront Charles. Her loyalty to Lucy overcomes her fear of confrontation, and as Charles scolds Lucy for not picking up immediately, Sam turns off his telephone and addresses him by his first name. She clearly explains that Lucy is in no position to be fired, and if he insists on interrogating her with the possibility of termination, then Sam insists that she should be held accountable for dressing inappropriately in the office. She challenges him not to hold back simply because she is the CEO's daughter. With this, Charles doesn't respond and simply buttons up her shirt. This startles Sam, but also feels like an acknowledgement that he had been waiting for her to speak up all along. Out of respect for her courage, Charles decides not to fire Lucy. This makes Sam happy, but Charles responds by calling her by her first name in return. Just as he opens the office door, Samuel appears outside, just about to knock. Scanning both of them from head to toe, Samuel is momentarily caught off guard as Sam isn't wearing her own clothes and Charles looks disheveled. Even worse, the blinds are closed and only the two of them are inside the office. Samuel starts picturing himself being reported for harming an employee, but Sam quickly snaps him out of it, and Samuel throws a sharp look at Charles before leaving the office. Later, Sam recounts the incident to her friends, who immediately understand, especially since her father is so protective. To comfort her, Dee suggests checking her game's rating to see if it has increased. Sam eagerly tries to log in, but she can't access her account, assuming the system might be overloaded. However, a few strangers nearby start talking about Marshall playing a game called Ruminate and criticizing it as terrible. Sure enough, when Sam visits Marshall's stream, she sees him playing her game, and he's completely terrible at it. Frustration wells up inside her as it becomes clear he hasn't read any of the instructions she posted in the introduction. By the end of the game, Marshall openly criticizes the game and gives it a harsh review, even directing some pointed comments at the developer. Since Marshall is well known, his words quickly spread across the internet, and soon people start leaving negative reviews on Sam's game, leaving her unable to react. Games have been a part of Sam's life since she was little, even during her time in the hospital, where she played alongside other patients. In college, she studied computer science, gaining the skills to develop her own game, Ruminate, during her spare time. Even while attending day classes, she spent countless nights working on the game, pouring her energy into it until the game finally saw the light of day. However, Marshall's stream shatters everything. Sam starts breathing heavily and quickly pulls out her inhaler, feeling as if her dream of becoming a game developer has collapsed right in front of her. Just then, Bowser starts barking, and even though it's already late, she takes him outside. As she locks her door, she notices moving boxes outside the neighboring unit. Distracted, she doesn't realize Marshall is right behind her, carrying a pile of boxes. As she turns around, she accidentally bumps into the boxes he's holding and her glasses fall, blurring her view. She strains to see his face properly, but as he apologizes, she starts recognizing his voice as familiar. She moves closer to get a better look until her sight clears. Only then does she realize the guy she's looking at is actually Marshall. Sam can only curse at the wind as she crawls across the ground searching for her glasses. She can't help thinking about the odds of Marshall becoming her neighbor out of the millions of people in the city, especially since he moved in on the exact day he uploaded that video. Marshall steps forward to help her, but Bowser immediately blocks his path, growling angrily at him. Marshall freezes for a moment before gushing over how adorable Bowser is. Without hesitation, he scoops the dog into his arms, cuddling him and praising him for guarding his owner from a stranger. He keeps chatting to Bowser while Sam finally spots her glasses, and Bowser can only twist his head toward her, whining as if begging her to rescue him. Because of that, Sam quickly marches over and snatches Bowser out of his arms, scolding him as Bowser hates being carried by strangers, and Marshall can only scratch his head and offer an apology. He tries to seize the moment to introduce himself, but Sam already knows exactly who he is. Before he can even say his name, she launches into a rapid rundown on everything she knows about him, including his follower count, his statistical ranking as a VTuber, and even the typical content of his streams. Marshall is amazed by how much she knows about him, so he jokingly asks if she might be his personal Wikipedia page editor. She also introduces herself and mentions that she is a game developer. Her name stirs something in Marshall's mind, and before he can place it, Sam reveals she is the creator of Ruminate, the game he trashed. Then she starts scolding him, saying he didn't play her game properly at all. Ruminate is meant to be an adventure puzzle title, not a combat-heavy one like he's used to. There was even an explanation at the beginning, but he never took the time to read it. She's furious that he published such an unfair review without properly playing the game in the first place. Finally, Sam declares that he is the worst VTuber ever and throws a punch straight into his face. Unfortunately, all of that was just in her head. Sam could never say any of those things in real life. Instead, she only stares at Marshall blankly while he gushes about how cool it is that she can make games. His reaction catches her off guard, and before she can process it, he starts firing off questions about her games. He throws them out so quickly that Sam becomes overwhelmed. He even says that maybe fate brought them together as neighbors, but Sam panics and rushes back inside her room, feeling defeated for failing to say a single word. Later at the cafe, Sam is noticeably down, prompting her friends to assume something happened. True enough, she confirms she has bad news, and that immediately grabs everyone's attention. Link rushes to her side, worried she might be having another medical episode, but she insists she's fine. Then she explains that a streamer named Marshall roasted Ruminate, and because of that, his fans bombed the game with bad reviews on Indigeneer, eventually flagging it down. However, no one seems to fully understand what Sam just said, so Dallas steps in to break it down in simpler terms until everyone finally grasps the situation. Link immediately suggests sending an email to Indigeneer, but Sam already did, yet she failed to receive a response. Even then, her story isn't over. Everyone gasps when she reveals that Marshall has just moved into the unit next door, and even after facing him in person, she couldn't bring herself to say anything to him. Sam slumps onto the table while her friends comfort her. They promise to avenge her, with Angela suggesting a violent solution, but Vicky quickly shuts her down. She points out that Marshall may have played the game incorrectly, but it was his fans who tanked the game's rating, not him. That thought lingers in Sam's mind. She starts to wonder whether Marshall was right and Ruminate really is a bad game after all, but Vicky reassures her that the game is cool. It's different from typical mainstream titles, and that's what makes it special, just like Sam herself. However, Dallas points out that Sam's thick glasses, lack of makeup, and plain appearance make her feel invisible, while Ruminate is far cooler and more special. Angela is shocked to hear such compliments coming from him, and Sam, moved by all their support, thanks everyone. Later, she has just arrived at work when Charles suddenly approaches her. They exchange greetings before Sam apologizes for yesterday's incident, but Charles assures her he doesn't blame Samuel for overreacting. He also mentions that he already sent her sweater for cleaning, and though Sam appreciates it, her attention shifts when she spots someone else, so she excuses herself. She walks over to Umid, who is busy working. He asks about her guild, and they chat briefly about it. When he mentions reaching master rank, Sam congratulates him, but the sadness on her face is hard to hide. Noticing this, Umid asks what's wrong, and Sam opens up. Since he knows much about the game, she mentions Indigeneer and admits she is having problems with it. Then she shows him what happened to her game account. Huna can't believe the score she received, and Sam admits her fear that this might end her career as a game developer. Now, even if she finishes Evermake, the new game she's been working on, she won't be able to announce it on the site anymore. Umid inspects the reviews, saying a platform like Indigeneer shouldn't allow users to leave reviews without purchasing the game. For him, the situation escalated too quickly, even with the streamer's influence. Sam suddenly feels a flicker of hope, knowing the site can still be improved. So Umid reassures her that he'll look into it, which brightens her mood even more. Unbeknownst to them, Charles has been watching and listening from a distance. That night, Sam arrives at her unit and notices Marshall still hasn't finished unpacking. Before she can enter, a hand touches her. She expects to see Marshall, but when she turns around, she finds their landlady Whipple. As Whipple bends to greet Bowser, Sam exhales in relief. She has come to inform Sam about her new neighbor, but Sam has already met him. With that, Whipple picks Bowser up and invites Sam to join her as she rings Marshall's doorbell. Sam tries to excuse herself by saying she needs to fix a few things, but Whipple misunderstands and assumes Sam is implying there's something wrong with her unit, so Sam comes along anyway. When Marshall opens the door, Whipple greets him cheerfully while Sam stays quiet. Whipple formally introduces them, and Marshall extends his hand for a handshake. However, Sam hesitates, staring at it for a moment before finally accepting. His hand is warm, but what catches Marshall's attention is the callus on her hand. The kind gamers usually get, and he's right. Sam admits she got it from playing World of Warquest, which instantly sparks Marshall's interest, since he's been playing with the guild for years. Sam becomes curious too, and they quickly fall into an enthusiastic discussion about the quests. She asks question after question until she remembers she's supposed to be mad at him for throwing roommate into hell. Thankfully, Whipple interrupts, announcing she needs to check how Marshall is settling in and steps inside. Marshall nervously follows her, knowing his unit is still a disaster. Meanwhile, Sam is left standing at the doorstep, so she glances around. After taking a few steps, she notices several unpacked boxes labeled with wildly inappropriate titles. Her face burns instantly. At that moment, Marshall steps out and catches her staring. He flushes just as hard and quickly tries to explain himself, insisting his friends wrote those labels to make fun of him. Just then, Whipple exits the unit and Sam follows her. But before she can leave, Marshall calls out and asks if she knows any good Chinese food places. Sam keeps her distance, answering him without making eye contact before shutting the door behind her and sighing in relief. That night, Sam stays up late polishing her new game, Evermake, though she can't ignore the fact that its visuals still look rough. Art has never been her strength, and the game clearly needs an artist's touch. She starts considering hiring someone, but pushes the thought aside, choosing to focus on the parts she can finish for now. The real problem is her Indigeneer account, which remains flagged. Even if she completes Evermake, she won't be able to upload it at all. The thought weighs heavily on her. But Marshall's booming voice suddenly starts echoing through the walls as he is apparently filming yet another stream. Marshall's voice startles Sam so badly that she drops her mug, splashing coffee all over her keyboard. Fueled by frustration, she storms out of her unit and marches straight to his door, ready to complain. She prepares to give him a thunderous knock, but when her hand touches the door, the knock turns into a weak tap. To make matters worse, her breathing turns shallow as she realizes she is getting another attack. She starts hesitating whether she can confront him at all, but she knows she needs to do something about it. With that, she pulls out her inhaler and slips a small note under Marshall's door asking him to keep it down. Though she thinks it's pathetic, it's all she can manage for now. The next morning, Sam is still half asleep when she hears Bowser's grunts. She finds him on her doorstep with shredded paper on the floor. When she pieces the scraps together, she realizes it's a note from Marshall, apologizing for the noise and explaining that his soundproofing equipment will arrive soon. Sam freezes in panic because of this, realizing Marshall knows the note was from her. Later, while Sam is out walking Bowser, she spots Marshall jogging shirtless in the distance. Panic shoots through her and she immediately looks for a hiding spot. Still, Marshall notices Bowser right away and goes over to say hello, leaving Sam flustered. He greets her casually, but her voice comes out shaky and oddly irritated, so she scrambles to sound more normal by blurting out a question about whether he likes coffee. Marshall says he does, but his attention shifts to Bowser, who immediately growls at him. Sam can't help feeling proud of her dog while Marshall apologizes again for picking Bowser up yesterday and even asks if they can be friends, but Bowser responds with an angry growl once again. Suddenly, two young girls spot Marshall and shriek with excitement. They rush over, declaring themselves his huge fans. Marshall greets them kindly, which sends them into a frenzy. Sam watches them with admiration until the girls turn to her with sharp eyes, demanding to know who she is and making sure she is not Marshall's girlfriend. Marshall assures them that Sam is just his acquaintance, which sends them into another wave of excitement as they ask him for a hug. Even though he's drenched in sweat, they insist they want a hug more than anything, so Marshall gives in and the girls melt with joy. Watching him, Sam realizes how gentle he is with his fans, understanding this must be the reason they support him. Then she walks away. Back at the cafe, Sam sits slumped over the table again, making Angela finally lose her patience with Marshall. But Sam insists it isn't his fault, as she still hasn't admitted the truth to him, despite having plenty of chances. She feels like a coward, so Angela immediately volunteers to confront him herself, but Sam stops her, determined to do it on her own this time. When she arrives at their building, Sam stands stiffly in front of Marshall's unit, telling herself she can't avoid this any longer. She plans to confront him about Ruminate and how he mishandled her game. Summoning all her courage, she presses the doorbell, and a shadow approaches. Sam puts on a tough expression, but when the door swings open, it isn't Marshall who stands there. Instead, an unfamiliar woman named Monica greets her, and Sam immediately falters. Monica immediately lectures Sam for showing up at Marshall's door. As she talks, Sam cannot help but notice Monica's striking shape. Monica keeps talking about boundaries, warning her that posting Marshall's home online would bring swarms of people to the building and force them to move yet again because of his fans. That's when Sam realizes the misunderstanding, so she quickly clarifies that she actually lives next door. Monica freezes, and her expression shifts in an instant as she apologizes for mistaking Sam for a fan, explaining she isn't usually that harsh, but some fans are just too much. Sam apologizes for coming over while he clearly has company, but Monica waves it off and steps a little closer. This startles Sam, but Monica simply admires Sam's naturally beautiful skin. At that moment, Monica formally introduces herself, pulling a business card from her chest. She turns out to be a beauty blogger and the face of the brand Glitz Kitten, so Sam accepts the card politely. Monica explains that she's an influencer with millions of followers across multiple platforms, selling makeup and fashion products under her own label. Sam admits she isn't into that kind of thing when Marshall's voice echoes from inside, calling Monica. Monica casually responds by calling him baby. He insists he has an emergency, which immediately catches Sam's attention, only for it to be the smudge eyeliner on his face, even as Monica explains the solution to him. Then Marshall notices Sam outside the door, so he introduces her to Monica as his neighbor, while introducing Monica to Sam as his friend. The word makes Monica shoot him a warning look, but Marshall ignores it and turns back to Sam, asking why she came over. Fear closes in on Sam again. Though she tries to speak, the words tangle in her throat and her chest starts to tighten. Monica begins to grow impatient, yet Sam still can't bring herself to say what she intended. With that, Marshall steps in, assuming she must be there to complain about his noise again. He thanks her for letting him know and urges her to return to her unit before closing the door. Sam can only sigh heavily at the lost opportunity. Inside Marshall's unit, Monica confronts him about Sam, but he defends her, explaining that Sam is prone to anxiety and fear, so he wants Monica to be gentler with her next time. Monica, however, complains about how warm he is toward his neighbors while being so cold with her. Marshall reminds her that he can't risk his fans finding out they're dating, as some of them may start rumors and lash out. Any scandal could damage both their careers. Monica understands, but the truth still leaves her looking saddened. The next day, Sam immerses herself in work until her phone vibrates with a message from their guildmaster instructing everyone to assemble that afternoon. The other members receive the same notice, and Sam finds herself smiling as she looks forward to the meeting. Later, on her way home, she stops by the building's mail lockers. She opens hers and sifts through a pile of envelopes, only to discover they're all junk mail. Suddenly, Marshall unlocks the locker beside hers, startling her. He stands extremely close behind her, and she shrieks, dropping all the letters from her hands. As he speaks, she immediately notices his odd voice and pale looks, prompting her to ask if he's all right. He brushes it off and explains that he just finished a 12-hour charity stream, so Sam assumes he hasn't slept properly for days, which seems to catch him off guard, but he simply apologizes. For a brief moment, Sam thinks he's apologizing for ruminate, but Marshall is actually talking about the noise, assuring her that he's already installing the soundproofing. With that, Sam asks how he figured out she was the one who left the note in his unit, but Marshall had no idea it was her. In fact, he wasn't sure who had slipped the message, so he wrote an apology note to every unit in the building. At that moment, Sam becomes embarrassed, realizing she had just sabotaged herself. Sam's phone suddenly vibrates again, and when she checks, she realizes it's already 5:45. Panic hits instantly, so she rushes out, leaving Marshall confused. At the meeting place, Sam arrives first. Within their guild, she is known as Ariadne the Mage. Angela and Vicky soon follow after her. Angela plays Signy, their tank, while Vicky goes by Vixie, one of the OPS. The moment they settle in, both immediately ask about her Marshall situation, but Sam has no progress to report. A few minutes later, Dallas pulls up on his bike. In-game, he's known as Night Killer, another OPS. He greets them with his arrogant energy, but the group simply ignores him and returns to their own conversation. Then a limousine rolls to a stop, and everyone knows it belongs to Olivia, accompanied by her loyal butler Edgar. Sure enough, Edgar steps out and opens the door for Olivia, who is holding the device she uses to speak. She's Lily in the game, their healer, while Edgar uses his real name in the game, serving as their additional tank. Dallas immediately comments that Olivia looks like a creepy doll, so she calls him a piece of trash. He's about to lose his temper, but Angela reminds him not to upset their healer, recalling what happened the other day when he desperately needed healing, but Lily simply flicked her finger at him and laughed as he lost his last remaining life. As the team heads inside, the crew immediately scrambles at the sight of them. The clerks recognize them as members of the rare spawns who have quite a reputation in this place. While the team settles down to eat, the crew begins chatting about them. They mention how the group wins every prize each time they play, making it difficult to gather enough rewards for the following events. Their mascot, who appears to be new, can't believe this, but the clerks know how hardcore these gamers are. The rare spawns devour every challenge with almost no effort. Still, someone is noticeably missing. Just as they start talking about him, the guildmaster arrives behind them, prompting the crew to make excuses and scatter. Their guildmaster, Abe, is known as Umoja in the game, who is also a healer. Dallas spots him first and immediately begins complaining about the girls, only for Edgar to remind him to be a gentleman. Abe approaches the table and announces that the rare spawns have officially hit rank 3 on the server. But there's even better news, as the top 2 guilds have reached out and invited them to join their future raids. This means they are finally close to reaching the endgame of World of Warquest. The road ahead will be more dangerous, but for now, Abe encourages everyone to celebrate, declaring he'll cover the bill. With this, the guild erupts in cheers. That day, the group enjoys eating and drinking, and once they're full, they head straight for the arcade games. Angela dominates every step on the dancing platform, even as Dallas keeps teasing her about being a stripper. Meanwhile, Edgar focuses on the sharpshooter game, flooding the floor with tickets, though Olivia casually remarks that he's still being too slow. Vicky prepares for the shooting challenge next, and the moment the game begins, she fires with such speed and precision that the mascot starts questioning whether she's even human. Finally, Abe steps up to the boxing machine, and while cracking his knuckles, a worried clerk pleads with him not to try it, convinced he'll break the machine again, but Abe simply claims he needs the practice in case of an apocalypse. He begins to swing, then stops midway, admitting to the clerk that he was only joking. Suing tickets are flying everywhere in the arcade, and the clerks can do nothing but hand over the prizes. The team generously gives them to the children, who beam with joy. Amid all the excitement, Sam receives a message that leaves her feeling disappointed, so she steps outside, only to find a teddy bear placed beside her. To her surprise, it's Edgar, and Olivia casually sits atop the teddy bear. Olivia asks why Sam is out there by herself, but Sam refuses to answer. With that, Olivia assures her that, even though she's deaf, she can read lips and understand everything Sam says. Encouraged, Sam opens up Indigeneer's response to her email. While they have restored her access, the platform refuses to remove the negative reviews left by Marshall's fans. As a result, Ruminate remains the lowest-ranked game on the site, putting her career as a game developer at risk. Olivia tries joking that she could tell Edgar to beat Marshall, but Sam refuses such ideas. Olivia doesn't want her to stay sulking forever, but Sam can't shake her sense of hopelessness. Even with Ruminate's help, she feels powerless to change anything. Yet Olivia points out to her that if it's truly her dream to become a game developer, she can't give up just because a streamer's fan base got in her way. Olivia points out that, as a developer herself, Sam should understand that Indigeneer's software is affecting many users and not just her. This makes Sam pause and reflect, so Olivia suggests that if Sam can't directly fix the bad reviews, she could instead contribute ideas to Indigeneer in order to improve the platform itself. With her experience and knowledge, she has the ability to propose solutions to Indigeneer, which could potentially make them act on her problem. As Sam absorbs Olivia's words, she feels a spark of determination. Olivia encourages her to stop seeing herself as a victim and to confront the challenges before her. For a moment, the wisdom in her words makes Sam doubt that Olivia could be only 17 years old. Olivia reassures her that depth isn't determined by age and urges Sam to make a decision now. With that, Sam takes a deep breath and stands up, thinking for a moment, but she freaks out as she still doesn't know what to do. Olivia frowns in disbelief and tells her to pull herself together. She knows Sam already understands what must be done to protect Ruminate, and Sam thanks her for helping her realize that. Now she is determined to face both Indigeneer and martial law. Their shared smile reflects a sign of quiet determination. Then the sound of applause echoes from behind them. Her friends are offering her their support, reminding her that her guild family will always back her up. So Sam thanks Olivia once more for her encouragement, while Dallas teasingly points out all the advice Olivia had given, sparking playful bickering between the two. That night, Sam arrives at her building and heads straight to Marshall's unit, sighing heavily before pressing the doorbell. Seconds later, the door opens, and this time is Marshall himself. Sam hesitates, struggling to find her words. Marshall notices her uncertainty and reassures her that Monica isn't there today, but Sam cuts to the chase, blurting out that there's something important she wants to say. Then she gathers enough courage to begin, and she starts by introducing herself once again as a game developer. Marshall becomes slightly puzzled by her need for an introduction, but Sam explains that she wants to begin from the introduction itself, and Marshall can only let her be. Following her, Marshall also decides to reintroduce himself, mentioning that he's a VTuber and saying he's glad to have her as his neighbor. Sam, however, continues with her own introduction, which leads her to mention the first game she ever made, Ruminate, and Marshall immediately widens his eyes. She explains how Marshall called it a terrible game, clarifying that it is actually a puzzle adventure designed to challenge the player through non-violent problem-solving and not combat. She emphasizes that the introduction in the game explains this, but she knows he hadn't read it, which led him to approach the puzzles incorrectly, as violence in Ruminate accomplishes nothing. After delivering her points, Sam exhales deeply, thanking Marshall for allowing her to reintroduce herself properly. Then she steps back and returns to her unit as if nothing happened, leaving Marshall momentarily stunned. After everything Sam has said, she slumps to the floor of her unit, feeling overwhelmed. The next day in his unit, Marshall scrolls through the reviews his fans have left on Sam's Indigeneer game account. The comments are harsh and full of hate aimed at Sam and her game. His frustration grows with every review, but what catches his attention most is her username, Ariadne, which sounds familiar. Curious, he clicks on her YouTube profile and realizes Sam has been following him for a long time. He discovers her old comments on his streams, filled with admiration and encouragement, dating back 2 to 2.5 years when Marshall was still relatively unknown. Many of her messages mention the game she is developing and she hopes he will be able to play it someday. Clicking on one particular video, he sees himself celebrating when he reached 500 subscribers back then. Now his frustration mixes with a twinge of guilt. However, his thoughts are interrupted by Monica, who shows him the thumbnail of the makeup course they filmed the other day. She immediately notices that Marshall is checking a game developer's profile. When Marshall glances at the thumbnail, he gives only a short, cold response before returning his attention to the screen. With that, Monica senses something is off and asks about it. Marshall then reveals that Sam is the owner of Ruminate, the game he played a few days ago. Many of his fans watched his stream and went to Indigeneer review bombing her game. Now, Sam's career as a game developer is at risk because of him and his fans. Monica immediately understands the situation, but what makes it even worse is that Sam is actually one of his oldest fans, supporting him even when he had just 500 subscribers. Monica asks him what he plans to do about it, so Marshall pauses to think and decides to make a video about it, explaining that he was wrong about the game and asking his fans to delete the negative reviews they left on Sam's game. With that, Monica looks at him cautiously and warns that it could backfire. At first, Marshall doesn't understand, so Monica explains that gaining haters is the biggest risk for influencers. Netizens hate being told they are wrong, so they might react unpredictably. Some may apologize and remove their comments on Sam's game, but most of them would possibly lash out at him and escalate the situation instead. At that moment, Marshall thinks about all the negative comments he might receive if he makes the video, and his head starts aching. Monica points out that it could also make things worse for Sam, so it's ultimately up to him whether he wants to take that risk. In her opinion, it might be best to just leave things as they are. However, Marshall refuses to simply watch everything unfold. Even if it was indirect, he knows he is the one responsible for putting Sam in this difficult position, and he feels compelled to do something for her. Monica reminds him that this is the price of fame, and he cannot react to every little situation that comes his way. Still, seeing him visibly troubled, she suggests a few approaches he could take to help Sam. That night, Sam takes a bath and reminisces about the days when she was still Marshall's avid fan, back when he had just 500 subscribers. She watched his streams every night, and now, lying awake in bed, she cannot get her mind off everything that happened. Then suddenly, someone knocks at her door. To her surprise, it's Marshall, who immediately apologizes the moment he sees her. Bowser barks rapidly at him, but Sam reassures the dog that it's fine, prompting Bowser to quickly calm down. Marshall admits that he had no idea what his fans did to her account until now. Although it might sound like an excuse, he rarely checks a developer's gaming profile after playing a game, so he genuinely didn't know she made Ruminate. He also assures her that he has already emailed Indigeneer explaining the situation and hoping they can restore her game's former rank. Since he has some influence with them, he believes they will listen and take action. Then, Marshall hands Sam an envelope, hoping it will help. He explains that it's a check containing all his earnings from that specific video, and when Sam opens it, she's stunned by the amount, which is far more than anything her salary could compare to. Marshall tells her it was actually his most watched stream, but he deleted it already, admitting he should have done that much earlier. Although Sam appreciates his apology, she refuses to accept the check. Marshall insists she keep it, feeling ashamed for having held on to that money at all, but Sam still won't budge. They end up going back and forth over who should keep the envelope until their exchange shifts into a lighthearted argument. Marshall tells her she could use the money for the new game she's developing, hoping it becomes an even better game than Ruminate. Hearing this, Sam begins to breathe heavily, and Marshall immediately grows worried, stepping closer to check on her, but she brushes him off. Then she tears the envelope to shreds right in front of him. She tells him that Ruminate was already an awesome game, and by giving her money, he's not apologizing and just trying to escape his guilt. Marshall tries to explain himself, but Sam doesn't give him the chance, shutting the door between them before finally breaking down. The next day, Bowser's barking draws her attention to something on the floor. When she picks it up, she sees a note attached saying, "You can't tear this one up." So she opens it and finds cash. Fuming, Sam marches straight to Marshall's unit, slipping the envelope back under his door, but he has placed a large box beside it, completely blocking the gap. Her attempt fails, which only makes her angrier. Then, Marshall peeks through his window, startled when he sees Sam already glaring back at him. He raises his blinds, startled by how Sam managed to climb around the balcony. However, she slides the window open and smacks him with the envelope. She tells him never to give her money again before rushing out. Meanwhile, Link is responding to an accident, bringing an injured victim to the hospital and giving proper care. Later, he returns to the locker room to change and pauses when he notices the photos of him with his father and Dallas. The sight pulls him back to the past when his father was still suffering from illness. He remembers himself sulking quietly in a corner until Sam approached him. Sam gave him a can of soda and invited him to join her. She was a patient there too, and during those hospital days, she kept him sane. Link confided in her about his father's condition, and she did her best to comfort him. When his father eventually died, Sam stayed by his side, making sure he didn't lose his way. In that darkness, she became his light, reassuring him that his father was proud of him. In the present, Link vows to return her kindness one day and be her light when she needs it most. The next day at the cafe, Dee approaches her with a question. They used to be college roommates, so she finally asks why Sam never bothered to date anyone. Dee suspects Sam might be asexual, but Sam admits she is attracted to men. Sam recalls how, when she was just a little kid, her dad would always tell her she was his daddy's little princess. He wished nothing more than for her to marry happily one day, but at the same time, he warned her that he would hate every man who approached her. Sam knows he was being overly protective because she was frail, but aside from that, she has always felt awkward around men. As the years pass, she lost more confidence in herself. She also feels embarrassed whenever people discover she has never been on a date before and she believes most men aren't attracted to her. However, Dee completely disagrees, insisting Sam is actually very attractive and should have more confidence. Sam thinks Dee is only saying that because they're friends, but Dee brings up Link's earlier invitation to go to the movies. She explains that he wasn't asking her to hang out as friends and was actually asking her out on a date. Sam blushes, unsure why Link would even ask her out, so Dee explains that it's a chance for them to see whether they could be more than friends. However, Sam still doubts that Link is interested in her, but Dee insists that he sees what an amazing woman she is. Overwhelmed by this, Sam burns with embarrassment, feeling her face heat up and seemingly melt in front of Dee. After work, Sam walks with Lucy, still thinking about Link. Lucy notices Sam has been spacing out frequently today, so Lucy teases that maybe Sam is in love, causing her to blush furiously, while Lucy demands to know all the details. Instead, Sam asks Lucy what it feels like to be on a date, and Lucy immediately beams, congratulating her even though she insists she hasn't agreed to date anyone yet and is merely curious. Suddenly, a car horn blares and both of them turn to see Charles, asking if they need a ride. Sam wants to decline, but Lucy urges her to go with him while she stays behind. Lucy assures Sam that it could give her a sense of how dates work and might be a good experience, so Sam agrees reluctantly. On the ride, Sam asks Charles why he offered them a lift, and he explains that he simply saw them heading out and wanted to help. Glancing toward the backseat, Sam notices a gym bag and Charles admits it's for fencing, as he teaches at a club in the city. Sam immediately admires him, comparing him to the swords master she sees in games. Charles casually invites Sam to watch him train sometime, but she hesitates. Sensing this, he quickly reassures her that the game involves intermittent bursts with plenty of downtime, so it won't trigger her asthma. Sam is surprised that he knows about her condition, so Charles recalls that when she first started working at the office, Samuel had moved their workspace from the 4th floor to the 1st, invested in better HVAC systems, stocked EpiPens and the first aid kits, and even asked Charles if he knew CPR. That leads Sam to share just how overprotective her father can be, and Charles asks if she struggles with it. She admits that she sometimes does, but she understands her father's love and doesn't want to disappoint him. Her story makes Charles recall a young man he once knew, someone with a narcissistic father who showed him no love. The boy had trained in fencing with Charles and had real potential to become an instructor like him. Yet he suddenly quit as he had been fencing only to impress his father, who never truly appreciated his efforts. The young man was crushed, and Charles has quietly worried about him ever since. Meanwhile, back at his unit, Marshall picks up the envelope that Sam had returned earlier. He decides to head to the cafe Sam recommended. There, Dee entertains him, and after ordering, he casually mentions that a friend named Sam recommended the place. Hearing this, Angela and Vicky, who are also dining at that time, turn their attention to him. Angela can't hold back and lunges at him, criticizing him for what happened with Sam. As Angela gets ready to hit Marshall, Vicky steps in to stop her. Still, Angela keeps shouting about how Marshall ruined Sam's life. Marshall tries to explain that he actually came to the cafe hoping to see Sam and apologize once again, yet Angela doesn't calm down, escaping Vicky's hold and moving to strike him. Good thing Link steps in and holds her tightly. He talks her down, reminding her to stay calm. Marshall thanks Link, who points out that he only intervened because Sam has never liked violence in any form. After the commotion, the cafe door opens and Sam enters with Charles. To everyone's surprise, Charles immediately recognizes Marshall and calls him Ben Lawson. Sam is shocked to hear such an unfamiliar name, so Charles explains that he is actually the young man he was talking about earlier during their car ride. Link gets so caught up that his grip on Angela tightens without him realizing it, making it hard for her to breathe. Desperate, Angela bites his arm to force him to let go. Only then does Link snap back to himself and understand what he's done. As soon as he releases her, Angela collapses to the floor, gasping for air while Vicky and Sam rush to her side. Link apologizes, insisting he never meant to hurt her, while Vicky reassures him that it was an accident, but Angela's hidden fury only intensifies. Following that, Angela heads out first while Vicky tends to her side. Then, Marshall turns to Charles, asking why he's with Sam. Before Charles can answer, Sam chimes in first, explaining that Charles is her boss and happened to offer her a ride home today. As thanks, she invited him to the cafe for some coffee. Charles tries to speak to Marshall, addressing him as Ben, but Marshall immediately corrects him, insisting he be called Marshall. Sam then introduces Marshall properly, adding that he's her neighbor who is also a well-known ViewTuber with over 3 million subscribers, which she assumes Charles didn't know. Sure enough, Charles explains that he hasn't seen Marshall in years, not since he quit fencing. Still, he says he's relieved to see Marshall looking well. This makes Marshall pause before he excuses himself, muttering that he's met plenty of Sam's good friends today as he turns to leave. Sam is about to stop him, but Charles speaks first. He remarks that Marshall still hasn't changed as he's still running away from the things that matter. Marshall freezes at the words but still proceeds to walk out anyway. Rain pours heavily as Marshall walks down the street soaking wet. His mind drifts back to memories of his past. He remembers his father reminding him that he was the Lawson family heir, so he must work hard and always aim for the top. His father had huge expectations for him, so when Marshall went home with his second-place trophy, his father was disappointed. Even when he reached college and wanted to pursue art, his father disagreed, pointing out that he wouldn't be able to protect their family with it. Back at the cafe, Link listens from the counter as Charles explains that he's heard how strict Marshall's father is. He assumes Marshall's father may have already cut ties with him, which makes Sam feel sorry for him. Still, Charles points out that Marshall looks more alive now than he ever did before, which makes him a bit relieved. Even then, Sam doubts that Marshall truly wanted to sever ties with his family. Charles becomes curious about why she can say so Sam explains that all this time, she thought his screen name, Marshall Law, was a reference to legal authority, as if he were imposing his law on his viewers. But now she realizes it might just be a shortcut for Lawson. Deep down, she thinks it's possible Marshall still cares about his family, and that it is his way of staying connected to them. When Marshall arrives home, Monica is in the middle of getting ready. She immediately notices he's drenched from the rain but only comments on his appearance. Her eyes drift to the envelope in his pocket, and she assumes he never made it to the cafe. Instead of explaining, Marshall pulls her into a hug. Monica thinks he's just being clingy, so she explains she's already running late and needs to leave. Before heading out, she lists all the things she has to take care of and tells him she'll be staying in her place, so he shouldn't wait for her. She gives him a quick goodbye kiss and reminds him to take a bath before going out the door. Meanwhile, Link is in the shower, still replaying the incident with Angela in his head. Dallas suddenly bursts into his room and notices the bandage on his arm. When he asks about it, Link lies and says he got hurt at work. Then Dallas starts teasing him about Sam, so Link fires back, pointing out that Dallas is a 17-year-old boy who hasn't dated anyone either. This makes Dallas panic and explain himself, but Link just shuts the door in his face. Elsewhere, Sam can't stop thinking about Marshall's situation. She realizes that if she were the one who had to cut ties with her dad, she wouldn't have the courage to live the way Marshall does. Compared to him, she feels like a coward. The next day at work, Sam stops by Charles' office to invite him to lunch and he agrees. They end up at a fancy restaurant that immediately makes Sam nervous. She insisted Charles pick the place since she was the one inviting him, but now she has no idea what to do. While they eat, Charles asks if Sam feels awkward around him. She denies it at first, but eventually admits she does. With that, Charles tells her they should try to be more comfortable with each other. So Sam gathers the courage to ask why he was so tough on her when she first joined the company, and Charles explains without hesitation. Charles explains that Samuel told him beforehand that Sam would be his successor, meaning she would one day become his employer. But when they first met, Charles only saw weakness in her. He says Samuel is incredibly talented and someone he enjoys working with, but Sam didn't seem to have his authority. That frustrated Charles, as Sam didn't seem like someone he could trust with his career. That's why he treated her harshly on purpose, to push her to assert herself. Charles points out that a CEO who can't stand up for herself won't be able to stand up for the employees under her either. So when she finally stood up for Lucy the other day, he felt proud of her. Hearing that, Sam assumes Charles must have chosen the restaurant on purpose, so she would be forced to speak up, especially since he knows she can't afford it. But Charles doesn't mind and immediately offers to pay. Still, that's the least of Sam's worries, as she admits to him that she doesn't want to become the next CEO, which is something Charles finds impossible to believe. Later at the cafe, Sam can't stop replaying her conversation with Charles when Link approaches her, asking if she wants to go hiking with him. These words about it being a date flash in her mind, making her blush. Yet she stammers that she knows nothing about hiking, but Link reassures her that they could just take Bowser for a walk and grab lunch after. With that, Sam finally agrees and suggests they visit the dog park since Bowser loves it there, making Link smile. When Sam arrives home, Miss Whipple suddenly taps her from behind. She explains that Sam's rent has already been paid through the end of her lease. Sam is confused, assuming it must be her father's doing, but Miss Whipple clarifies that it was actually her neighbor, Marshall, who paid it. Realizing this, Sam erupts in anger and storms toward his door, pounding on it nonstop. When Marshall opens it, Sam is ready to scold him, but he pulls her inside immediately, saying she's exactly the person he needs right now. Inside, Marshall shows Sam a game on his screen and explains that his save file broke and won't open. Sam recognizes it instantly, as it's one of her favorites, and she remembers Marshall streaming it on his channel quite a lot as well. With that, Sam assumes he must need her help, and Marshall confirms it by pleading with her. Sam checks the issue and realizes it's just a simple script error, which she can fix. But first she asks Marshall why he thinks she should handle it. Marshall scrambles for an answer and blurts out that he'll pay her. However, Sam takes it the wrong way and immediately calls him out for always trying to solve everything with money. Instead, she gives her own terms and says he must play Ruminate again. It doesn't matter if he streams it or not, as she just wants a real review from him. On top of that, she insists on giving back the least money he paid for her. Cornered, Marshall has no choice but to accept. A while later, Sam is still deep in the game files, so Marshall decides to order them some pizza, stepping out to make the call. While the game loads, Sam finds herself alone in the room, so she takes time to reflect on how her younger self would be over the moon knowing she's here and talking to Marshall about video games. Then her eyes wander around the room and land on a sketchbook. Curiosity wins for a moment and she flips it open, only to see that the pages are filled with detailed drawings. She never knew Marshall was an artist, but before she can look further, she hears his voice approaching and she snaps the notebook back where she found it. While eating, Marshall asks what got her interested in games. So Sam opens up about how she spent much time in hospitals and how games, along with the kids there, kept her going. That became her inspiration to create games, hoping she could give a little happiness to someone else. When she glances at Marshall, he's already sobbing. Still, Sam admits that sometimes it feels pointless, like she's chasing a childish dream. Marshall reaches out and taps her forehead with his finger, insisting it's her punishment for saying such a thing. Even though he feels unworthy of cheering her after breaking her game, he still tells her not to give up. That night, Sam couldn't sleep at all. Her mind keeps spiraling to her upcoming date with Link the next morning. She thinks about his reassuringly big hands, his solid protective build, and the way he always seems dependable. With that, she realizes that she wouldn't mind being more than friends with him. Then her imagination drifts further to other intimate moments couples share, and the thought sends a sudden nosebleed down her face. By morning, Sam starts getting ready. She even puts on makeup despite the struggle of doing it without her glasses. As she's checking her phone, she notices a message from Link saying he's already on his way, so she takes a look at herself once more and begins second-guessing her outfit. Her anxiety immediately spikes and she stands up, ready to change. But before she can make a move, a firm knock on the door prevents her from doing it. When Link opens the door, he's greeted only by Bowser sitting inside. He wonders where Sam could be until he notices her awkwardly hiding behind the door. She blurts out that she was about to change, but Link tells her she already looks great. With that, they finally head to the dog park. There, they watch Bowser happily run around with the other dogs. Link even surprises him with an old frisbee he used to use. However, Bowser just stares at it in confusion. Link crouches beside him, patiently talking about the frisbee until Bowser starts showing interest. When Link finally tosses it into the air, Bowser sprints after it, only to stop short when a much larger dog steps in his way. As Sam and Link chat, Sam is just about to ask him something when Bowser starts barking frantically. It turns out that the big dog is chasing him now, so Sam opens her arms instinctively and calls Bowser over. Just as the larger dog is about to leap toward them, Link steps in front of it with a firm stare. His expression leaves the big dog whimpering and he quickly trots away. Just then, Monica strolls over, immediately recognizing Sam. She leans in to inspect Sam's skin with admiration and notices that she's wearing makeup today. When her gaze shifts to Link, she teasingly looks at them for a bit, making Sam's face turn bright red. Monica then brings her attention to Link's soft blonde hair, asking what shampoo he uses, and even suggests he try modeling because of his structured muscles. Suddenly, Marshall calls out to Monica while holding the dog that chased Bowser. To his surprise, the dog immediately stiffens and frowns the moment it sees Link again, while Marshall can only look at them in confusion. Even Marshall, who only glances at Link, is immediately shaken by his intense aura. The dog bolts in fear, dragging Marshall along as he desperately clings to the leash. He's pulled straight to the ground, refusing to let go, until Monica shouts that he'll hurt himself if he keeps holding on. Only then does Marshall finally release the leash, and the dog sprints off into the distance. Sam immediately rushes to check on Marshall, but he insists he's fine. He tries to keep things polite and formally greets Link. However, the moment Link shakes his hand, Marshall flinches as Link's grip is painfully firm. Trying to recover, Marshall explains that the dog had actually approached him earlier, so he assumed it wanted some butt pats. He even thought the dog was cute, but Link disagrees, pointing out that it had just tried to attack Bowser. Realizing this, Marshall quickly looks around for Bowser and finds him hiding under the bench. He crouches down and tries to comfort him, but Bowser avoids him completely and runs straight to Link, clinging to his leg. Marshall can only frown at Bowser's reaction, while Sam apologizes, explaining that Bowser still seems scared of him. At the same time, Monica kneels down to get a closer look at Bowser and compliments him. Bowser is uneasy around her at first, but when she gently sets down her own dog, Dinah, she encourages Bowser to make friends, and Bowser warms up to Dinah almost instantly. Monica seizes the moment to speak with Link and bring up her job offer again. She explains that he would be the perfect ambassador for her men's brand as the clothes she sells fit him perfectly. Introducing herself more formally, she hands him a calling card and mentions she's a beauty blogger under the brand Glitz Kitten, so Link accepts the card politely. Monica urges him to consider her offer, but Link immediately declines without a second thought. However, when she casually mentions that she pays her models $300 per hour, Link's eyes widen in disbelief. He clarifies the amount and Monica confirms it's $300 per hour, with a strict limit of 6 working hours per day, because she refuses to overwork her models, claiming that it ruins beauty. For a moment, Link thinks about it. A high hourly rate and a short workday are a very appealing deal. As Monica breaks down all the job details to Link, Sam listens from behind, feeling her jealousy slowly bubble up. But when she notices Monica getting a little too touchy with Link, and even taking a photo with him while standing way too close, Sam reaches her limit, so she marches over and clings to Link's arm, telling him she wants to go home. Monica immediately apologizes, insisting she didn't mean to ruin their date. The moment the word date leaves her mouth, Sam's heart nearly stops. What surprises her even more is that Link doesn't correct her about it. Instead, he simply excuses them politely and decides they should head home. Left alone, Marshall asks Monica if Link doesn't seem scary to her, but Monica just says she thinks he and Sam make a cute couple. As they talk, Marshall suddenly starts coughing, prompting Monica to scold him for not drying his hair properly. He insists it isn't a cold and is just an allergy, but she still worries. Eventually, they decide to head home as well. Monica reaches out to hold his hand, but Marshall pulls away, reminding her that public displays of affection are risky for them, even if they think no one is watching. With that, Monica reluctantly complies and walks out first. On the other hand, Charles is fencing with a kid, and the moms watching can't help but shriek every time he lands a hit. They whisper among themselves about how dreamy he is, marveling that he's still single, and one mom even claims she heard a rumor that he's divorced. When training ends, Charles walks over to congratulate the kid, sparking another round of squeals from the women. He gives the boy a quick lecture about muscle memory, and the kid eagerly nods along. When Charles asks where his mother is, every woman there immediately pretends to be her to catch his attention. Afterward, Charles heads to the shower to clean up before going about the rest of his day. He stops by a diner to eat alone, then notices a display of flowers outside which slows him down, so he pauses to smell the blooms before buying an entire bouquet. Back at Sam's unit, she casually asks Link if there's any place in the world he would want to visit. Link immediately grows tense about why she's asking something so random, so Sam explains that she just wants to know him more deeply. With that, Link takes a sip of his coffee before answering that it would be Yosemite National Park. Sam is surprised he chose somewhere so close, but Link explains that his dad used to take him and Dallas there when they were kids. It's where they learned mountain climbing and camping, so he has a lot of good memories tied to the place. Even now that he's an adult, he's been thinking about going back there. This interests Sam as mountain climbing sounds fun, though she knows she's physically incapable of doing it. To her surprise, Link simply tells her that he'll work hard to get stronger so he can carry her to the top. Sam reflects quietly, wondering how someone so strong and outdoorsy could even love someone as frail as her. Her thoughts are interrupted when Link turns the question on her. With that, she shyly admits she wants to visit Kyoto in Japan, where the Funtendo headquarters is located. She dreams of meeting its founder as he has created so many games she loves. Link hadn't considered going there before, but Sam's excitement instantly intrigues him, especially when her eyes light up as she describes the place as a holy land for gamers. Sam enthusiastically shares everything they could see and do there, and Link assures her that she will get the chance to visit it someday. Then, Sam's eyes drift to Link's injured hand, where Angela had bitten him. Link insists he's okay, but mentions that Angela's reaction didn't seem normal and asks Sam if she knows why. The question pulls Sam back to a memory of Angela sitting by her hospital bed, badly bruised. Sam is unsure if she should share the story, but Link explains that understanding the situation would help prevent the same mistake. Before Sam can respond, Link guesses that Angela might have been a victim of violence. Drawing on his experience as an emergency medical technician, he explains that he's seen many people react in similar ways, and they are all victims of domestic abuse. Sam only gives him a nod, so Link asks for details. Luckily, her abuser is already in prison and won't be released for a long time. Sam explains that he was arrested at the hospital the same day he attacked Angela. As it turns out, her abuser had also been rushed to the hospital after sustaining injuries, including broken ribs and a busted testicle. After that, Vicky stayed with Angela to care for her, but the experience left Angela withdrawn, trapped in darkness, and her emotions frequently tipped from fear into rage. Link relates to Angela, recalling his own time in the dark during his father's hospitalization, but acknowledges that it was Sam who helped pull him out. They share memories of their past when suddenly a strange sound echoes from the neighboring unit, making the conversation awkward. Sam quickly suggests playing a game they used to enjoy back at the hospital, but Link admits he hasn't played it in a long time. Sam instantly feels guilty, thinking she ruined their date. Seeing her expression, Link reassures her that they can play the game next time and that he'll practice before they meet again. Then Link stands, explaining he has an EMT shift tonight and must leave. Before heading out, Sam thanks him for taking her out and apologizes for making them rush home. Bowser also trots over with the frisbee, hinting he wants to play again, and Link promises they will. As Link slips on his jacket, Sam suddenly feels a pang of loneliness. When he glances at her, she quickly turns red. She starts thinking about whether she should ask if today was a date. Her anxiety quickly builds as Link approaches the door, until she finally blurts out the question. Link pauses and calmly responds that it was just a hike in the dog park. Still, seeing Sam trembling, Link reassures her that it isn't a date and that they are just friends. He moves to open the door, but Sam hesitantly asks again, wanting confirmation. To her surprise, Link only steps closer and gently tilts her head to face him. Sam braces herself while closing her eyes, yet Link doesn't reach her lips. Instead, he softly kisses her forehead, explaining it's just a charm to keep her from feeling lonely. Then he leaves as if nothing happened, leaving Sam shrieking in disbelief. That night, Marshall sleeps soundly on Monica's chest while she reflects on how many nights she's spent with him. She recalls the first time they met at a VTuber event. Another famous VTuber named Danny Smith had tried to get her attention, but she had shown no interest and he had eventually given up. Her friends had immediately rushed to ask her about Danny, assuming she had angered him, but Monica admitted that she had rejected his date proposal. Her friends were shocked, knowing Danny was hugely popular and that dating him could have boosted her engagement. But Monica didn't care, reminding them that people always had something to say anyway. Then her eyes landed on Marshall, who looked like a J-pop star and was exactly her type. With that, she became determined to do what she wanted, so she made her move and approached Marshall herself. That night, Monica and Marshall spent time together in a hotel room, and after it was over, Monica was left alone in the bed while Marshall tended to himself. Only then did she realize that he was not the ordinary gamer she had assumed. Marshall formally introduced himself as Marshall Law. Monica thought they would never meet again, but they ended up spending more nights together, and keeping their secret brings her pain. Meanwhile, Charles wakes in the middle of the night to get a glass of water. As he sips it, a memory flashes through his mind. He remembers arriving home and calling out for someone named Gwyneth. He poured himself some water before preparing to search the house for her. Suddenly, he heard something from above, so he climbed the stairs cautiously, and his expression was worried as he searched for Gwyneth. Approaching the bedroom door, the sounds grew louder, and he reached for the knob. His memory ends there, leaving Charles sitting alone in the present. After that, he opens his laptop and launches Ruminate. The next day, Sam heads to work as usual. Riding the bus, she scrolls through Evermake, but Link's words from yesterday keep echoing in her mind. She suddenly remembers the kiss, realizing just how inexperienced she is as a partner. Suddenly, a real-time error notification pops up on her phone, alerting her to several mistakes in her script. On top of that, she realizes she forgot to ask Jasmine, who is the same graphic designer who worked on Ruminate, to handle the Evermake project as well. As she walks, Sam reflects on how life feels like a game, a very difficult one, or at least that's what she's always believed. But now she realizes it might not be as hard as she thought, as her days are repetitive. So today, she's determined to start fresh and focus on work. However, when she glances at her desk, she freezes as it's completely empty. Confusion hits her for a moment until she remembers what she said to Charles the last time they spoke and how he responded. It slowly sinks into her that she has just been fired. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss new episodes every week.